Hey you, Bravo's now in Canada.
I just got chills.
If you know Bravo,
I love that. You love that?
you know Vanderpump Rules,
Why does it have to get so complicated?
Summer House,
Don't activate me because you've not seen me activated.
Below Deck,
I'm not your friend, I'm your captain.
Top Chef,
Hi, Chef.
and Housewives. Definitely Housewives.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to this.
Bravo, now available.
It's insane.
Subscribe now with your TV service provider. Fall in Canada has never been hotter.
Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
He's in the building!
Drink the moment. Drink it.
I said empty your mind.
Coquettish and coy. Ow. Ow.
What?
Yeah, there's people that are dying.
The wickedly talented.
More than great. It was historic.
Crack is
Oh, good for you.
I have to apologize.
One of the hottest.
Welcome back to The Reheat, a podcast that re-examines the wildest celebrity news and scandals of yesteryear and asks, how would we react to the same events if they'd transpired today? I'm Sarah Sahagian.
And I'm Sadaf, and this week spells yet another hot off the press. That's when we do a mini-sode that discusses the craziest headlines occupying us right now. And Sarah, I gotta clarify, I'm a little sick. I got a really nasty sore throat. I don't know if I sound hot, if I sound sexy, dare I say. I feel like I sound disgusting. But just excuse me if my voice crackles as we chat today, okay? Pardon me, listeners. Now, let's run through a few quick headlines first, if you'll allow me, Sarah. Shogun won big at the Emmy Awards, and I gotta say, I love seeing an Asian-centric show win the spotlight. I think we both have to catch up. I haven't started watching it
I
at
haven't
all.
started, but I look forward to it.
See, it's on our list now. And next up, a little darker news. Diddy finally got arrested and is charged for sex trafficking and being held without bail as we speak. And there are tapes, which means more famous culprits may be outed soon. Yikes. We will be discussing this in a future episode. Don't you worry. So much to unpack. We'll get there. But let's forget all of that. Let's set that all aside because Sarah and I have someone we would very much love to discuss who will probably also be a future episode. Let's be real. Let's jump into the Anna Delvey, the scammer of our time.
Love her.
Who posed as a wealthy heiress to swindle the New York elite a decade back. I love her too. Now, currently, she's out of prison and she's making a name for herself, specifically on, bear with me, Dancing with the Stars. Sarah, tell us all about it.
So, I mean, I'm not surprised she's on Dancing with the Stars. She did NFTs for a while.
She did.
She is a Renaissance woman, so I'm not surprised she would devote herself to Dancing with the Stars. I mean, she's not a particularly good dancer. Would you disagree with that?
I completely agree with you. I would say that her skills are limited and perhaps central to scamming. Like, that's what she's best at, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, but I'm okay with people not being good at dancing, being on Dancing with the Stars. When Dancing with the Stars premiered, I watched the OG season, and a lot of them weren't good dancers, but became better over the course of the show. Like John O'Hurley improved a lot, and I liked seeing that. I liked seeing people who didn't really have skill develop a modicum of skill, and then even when they weren't particularly good, that was sort of what made it funny. And then since then they've picked a lot of people who just like were good dancers, right? Like basically, musical theater, semi-professional dancers or, Olympic athletes who are very coordinated. And I want to see someone like Anna, someone like me, someone who doesn't really have useful skills, someone who has way too much self-esteem. And I admire that about her. I want to see Anna Delvey there.
I do too. I have to completely agree. I have to say, I haven't watched a proper Dancing with the Stars season in a long time. I have a friend who loves it very much, and I get my updates from him. I watched a little bit when Ariana of Scandival fame of Vanderpump Rules was on last season. I know a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. She was great, surprisingly. I think you're right. That's kind of what happens. People who you had no clue have any kind of dancing skill, or who are frankly shit to begin with, suddenly come out winners or amazing halfway or way down the season. It's kind of cool to watch. Will I tune in for Anna? I absolutely will, because I also just like hearing her muddled accent, which I cannot comprehend. Is it Russian? Is it German? Do we know what it is, Sarah, at this point?
Isn't she Russian? I thought she was Russian but had spent time in Germany. Like, I don't...
Right.
Who knows?
But I sense that it's intentionally muddled, like intentionally an accent where you can't quite figure out who she is or where she's from. I just want more to the Anna Delvey lore.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that she wore an ankle bracelet on Dancing with the Stars is iconic. But everything this woman does is iconic, right? Like, her courtroom outfits. She is a great dresser. I just have to say. When I said she had no useful skills, that was mean of me. She would be a fantastic fashion stylist or a fashion buyer. Like, this woman could do anything she wanted in the fashion industry. She just chose to swindle rich people. And, like, that's fine.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's, hey, listen, is that our modern Robin Hood? I'll take it. I also love that you said she wore her ankle bracelet on the show, because to me, Sarah, that's inclusivity. That's inclusivity of criminals, okay? Everyone deserves representation, including people who wear ankle bracelets.
You know what? Here's the thing. America is... And I'm going to say something, like, I don't mean this flippantly. America incarcerates so many people, like, including nonviolent people. And Anna Delvey is, like, honestly, included in the category of people I think should just not be in prison, right? I think that unless somebody is just a straight up danger to society because they're, like, a serial killer, we should be trying to put as few people behind bars as possible. There are other ways to get retribution. There are other ways to rehabilitate people. So the fact that she is providing representation for people who've been incarcerated, like, I actually think that if Americans insist on incarcerating this many people, then you do need to normalize it, because something like 1 in 2 families in the States is touched by the prison system. Like, that's ridiculous.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that. That's wild.
Yeah, it's huge. So if they're going to keep incarcerating everyone, then yeah, absolutely, that's a huge group of people, and they all need representation. I'm wondering if the people in her former prison are watching this, or if they all just hate her because she was probably a very demanding prisoner.
I do wonder too. I do wonder what kind of characters there were around her, because I have to assume it wasn't just her, but I would also assume that they despise this woman. I mean, she's come out of this being a success story and being exactly what I believe she wanted, to be famous and to be wealthy, or at least on the way to being wealthy, right? Which I think is really, really fascinating. She's kind of the perfect fairy tale. A more accessible one, maybe? Is it easy to scam? I don't know.
I believe in her, and so does Shonda Rhimes.
There you go.
That was Inventing Anna. You could tell, like, by the end, one of my criticisms of Inventing Anna, because I really enjoyed that whole show, Anna Klemsky's birthing scene was the closest I've ever come to seeing my own childbirth experience on TV.
Which deserves a whole episode of us chatting, by the way.
Yeah, anyway, I loved that episode and I love that scene where her husband tells her, you can do this, and she's like, because I'm not special. Like, I basically said that about myself when I was giving birth. Great show. But by the end, you can tell Shonda is, like, a little bit fangirling over Anna.
Yeah, which is really interesting, right? I feel like Shonda loves a crazy white woman, and I can back her up on that. I didn't love the show. I know you did, so I did give it a shot. And I know there were some solid moments. I remember there was a hot brown man on there, which I will always fully support. And I love Julia Garner. It wasn't my favorite thing, but I did love the source article written by one of my favorite reporters, Jessica Pressler. So go back and read that if you haven't. We'll link it in the show notes. But I do want to clarify, she's wearing an ankle bracelet because she's currently on house arrest.
Yeah, so she is.
Look at all you can do on house arrest.
Well, that's why I think she's a great role model. Like, honestly, if we're talking about normalizing doing things while you're on house arrest and you're like, and that is a form of incarceration, she's doing it. She's like, what a high achiever here. So I really admire how little she just gives a fuck, right? Like, she's just like, I'm not embarrassed. I have no shame. I aspire to be more like Anna Delvey. I don't want to scam anyone, but I do aspire to go through life with her attitude.
Absolutely. While generally I do feel the entire world should have a little more shame these days, this is one woman who I'm like, fuck that. You go out there and you embarrass yourself if you want to, because I will be applauding. Sarah and I will be applauding because I know this woman has endorsements down the line, more movies, more shows, more everything. I would love a reality show personally, which I feel like is probably due. I feel like that makes the most sense right now, but Bravo, please get on top of this.
Okay. I hope she gets married just so she can be on The Real Housewives.
That would be really fascinating. And the Housewives have had quite a few batshit women as of late, so she'd fit right in. But I'd love her, even her own show. I think she'd
be the reasonable housewife. Like, she would be the straight man. She would be the deadpan person. Like,
well, you know what? The fact is, a lot of housewives are scammers. So
yeah.
I mean.
They are. She would fit in. No, I want this for her. I want this for the world. Let's make this happen. Bravo, find her a husband and cast her.
There we go. And on that note, I feel like this is a good time to take a quick break. What do you think, Sarah?
Let's do it.
Hey, you. Bravo's now in Canada.
I just got chills.
If you know Bravo.
I love that.
You love that?
You know Vanderpump Rules.
Why does it have to get so complicated?
Summer House.
Don't activate me because you've not seen me activated.
Below Deck.
I'm not your friend. I'm your captain.
Top Chef.
Hi, Chef.
And Housewives. Definitely Housewives.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to this.
Bravo. Now available.
It's insane.
Subscribe now with your TV service provider. Fall in Canada has never been hotter.
And we're back. Now, one other piece of news that's been on my mind is one that's more somber. Kate Middleton has finished her chemotherapy, which I'm so happy that she has finished that course of chemotherapy. Good for her. Anytime a young mother or just a young person in general is diagnosed with cancer, I wish them all the best in their recovery. Another interesting thing is that she released a pretty long video, a really beautiful video with very high production values as well. What did you think of this video, Sadaf, that she released to celebrate the occasion?
Okay, so Sarah, I'm glad we're talking about this because I'm going to be honest with you, and you are my royal expert. Like, I go to you to get the proper news from the proper filter. Because, of course, because I saw this news and I saw screenshots of it and I saw the high quality production, and it just made me roll my eyes, and I could not bring myself to click, so I haven't actually watched it yet. But I would love—
You haven't watched it?
If you can believe it, but I would love if you would give our listeners and me a summary of what happened.
Oh, there's so much there.
Yeah,
so she's in this beautiful kind of bohemian dress. She's not wearing the striped shirt anymore, so she found more clothes. I'm happy for her. They let her go shopping. I mean, I understand she recycles clothes to model thriftiness, but every once in a while I'm like, dude, you're a princess. There has to be an upside. You have to be able to go shopping from time to time. She looks great. She looks beautiful. I mean, she does look like somebody who's been through a health crisis. You can see sort of, you know, she seems like somebody who's been through a lot, but she looks beautiful and strong and healthy. She and her kids and William, they have a picnic. They sort of trek through the woods.
Of course, as one
There's
does.
a lot of cuddling with her children as well as with William. There's a lot of PDA with William, actually. Like, she's got her head on his shoulder. It's a very sweet video. And I honestly thought, I mean, at first I was like, okay, this is such privilege that you're able to do this after you have chemo. And then I thought, you know what? Probably everyone should be able to do this after they've, faced death. Probably everyone who survived should be able to do this just to commemorate the moment with her family. So I sort of thought, it's privilege, but I don't mind it. Like, I'm glad she has this, and I just wish other people had it too. Everyone looks great. Everyone looks happy. She has this voiceover where I honestly think she's a good voice.
She does.
Person. Like, she should have a podcast.
I would listen to her put me to sleep, like one of those lullaby podcasts. I listen to that.
She's very soothing, and I feel like she'd be excellent at reading bedtime stories to children. Yes. That was my first thought. So she does a great job with this voiceover. The production values are outstanding. She looks great. All of the PDA was surprising to me because she and William don't usually do a lot of PDA, right? Like they're not people like that. They usually follow the royal protocol of being very dignified and not really touching your partner a lot in public, right? It's not that you're not supposed to love them, but you're not supposed to really show anything about your emotions, right?
Yeah.
And it's very vulnerable and very intimate. And part of it, I think, is it's a very well written, very well calibrated response to a lot of the tabloid rumors, as well as a celebration of her being done chemo, right? Because there's that resurgence of the rumor that he has had an affair with a former friend of Kate's, and a lot of speculation about her being missing, which is so bizarre.
Which is funny.
That conspiracy theory. And then people kind of critiquing William for taking a step back while Kate had chemo, as well as critiquing her for not coming quickly enough. And that last one, critiquing her for not coming back quickly enough. Like, I'm sorry. If you're out there and that is what you believe, that is disgusting to me. Like, if a woman has cancer, should be allowed to take 6 months off of her job.
No,
honestly.
I totally agree. I mean, I guess part of that comes from the idea that, well, what is Kate's job? What are their jobs, right? But even aside from all that, though, I'm with you. Like, I remember the Town and Country headline, which said the video is astonishing in its intimacy, which is the most diplomatic way of putting it. So I have to say this, as someone who just looked at the photos and was grossed out not because these two are making out, they're not necking, they're not getting all in there, but it's just not, as you said, it's not how we've seen them before. Like, she's got her head on his shoulder. They're embracing. They're in an oddly wooded area, which I doubt that they do. Maybe, I don't know. Buckingham Palace is quite a large property. I'm sure there's a wooded area.
They have a country home.
Okay,
It might be
there you go. Okay. It feels so manufactured to me, the perfection of it all, right? And you touched on this. I mean, they're coming back from not the best publicity around her being sick and around William maybe stepping out allegedly. And I hear them on wanting to put out a statement and wanting to put out a message. Sure, that's what everybody does. This just feels too over the top to me. I mean, even the photos and the moments in the video where they're with the kids and they're all embracing like this perfect, beautiful family, and it looks like a Gap ad, and she and William are laughing together, and even the way that she's got her head on his shoulder, I'm like, ma'am, do you ever do that? I don't buy it. I feel like
I don't know a single woman who does that with her husband.
It's not real. I don't think that's
Having said
real.
that, I've never had cancer, and it could be that a near-death experience makes you more appreciative and also of your partner and makes them more appreciative of you. Like, one thing that I did think, I don't think William's a good actor. I don't.
No.
He's never been able to fake anything despite all of his media training. One thing that struck me is how much he seems to adore her when he looks at her in that video. And I do think that almost losing your partner, or not even necessarily almost losing her, but like being reminded of her mortality can make you closer and can strengthen a marriage. And for some people that they do say it strengthens their marriage. I know a lot of people who, after one of them had cancer but there was a recovery, they went through kind of a honeymoon period again in their marriage where it was very romantic and very physical. So it could be genuine. Like, I actually think that they just genuinely are more in love now than they were like a few years ago, just more actively romantically in love, which is sweet to see. Like, I just want her to be okay. And I also want people to stop criticizing her for not working.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And I think she should certainly be spared the criticism. I thought that was quite hefty and odd anytime somebody is sick. And I don't really get the point of it, even if they're famous and despite whatever their job status is. I'm the harshest on the royals sometimes, and I agree with that. I am with you. I think sometimes I forget that, just like all our listeners and just like the thesis of our podcast, I can forget that famous people are people, and when they're sick, they act like us regular people too, and they struggle, and it's not easy, and sometimes that does bring you closer. I think the pessimist inside me sometimes goes to that fact that it is very true that a lot of of the time when wives are sick or they're struggling with someone, men are more likely to step out on them during that period, which is one of the most devastating facts I've ever heard. So I think my brain gravitates toward that. But you're right. He does look genuinely happy in these photos. And folks, Sarah would know, okay? She knows them better than I do. So I trust you on that. I guess there's always just that part of me, and I think I can say this for a lot of people, where you are reminded it's the royal family. It's a, quote, administration. There's so much that goes into the marketing, and the marketing was a shit show, right? When she was announcing her diagnosis, that whole process was so poorly done. So it almost feels like they brought in somebody new, they put the money in, and then they knocked this out.
Yeah, that crisis comms took over.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. And let her buy a new dress for vacation. Finally let her have a new outfit. So apparently she's coming back to work. I hope that people are understanding that she's probably going to do less work than she did before for the foreseeable future. And that's also, I think, a good thing, because the monarchy doesn't need to be super central to British life. It can be more ceremonial. It doesn't have to be, she doesn't have to be doing, 20 engagements a week. I don't think that that's necessary. So this might actually, in my opinion, be a good thing for the constitutional monarchy.
I think you're absolutely right. I feel like that's such a good final point on that. I'm curious to see how this goes. So Sarah, please keep us updated on the Middleton drama. Thank you very much. Do you think we should take a little break?
Let's do it. Welcome back to the Reheat, Taylor's version.
Guys, if you haven't already heard somehow, we've got a little treat for you. Actually, major, to be honest.
That's right. Thanks to Rogers, we are giving away 2 tickets to see Taylor Swift the Eras Tour when she comes to Toronto. Sadaf, should we give them more info?
Immediately, Sarah. What are the details? How do they enter?
Each week, we give you a different keyword, and this week's keyword is lover. Text lover and your name to 925-555 to enter for your chance to win. Again, text lover, that's LOVER, and your name to 925-555 for your chance to win.
And for the record, that does not mean send a photo of your lover, please. No, just the word. Thanks to Rogers, the presenting sponsor of Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. Standard data and message rates apply. See contest rules linked in the description of this episode for details.
I can't wait. All of the moms in my daughter's kindergarten really want to win this. This is going to be the contest of the season.
I would love if this goes to a mom and a daughter combo. So don't forget, guys, there's no reason to freak out. You've got a whole lot of chances because there will be another keyword in next week's episode. The contest is 6 weeks long for up to 6 entries. Good luck. You got this. And we're back. Okay, I have one last thing, Sarah, that I desperately need to discuss while I have you. I don't know if you saw this in the news this week, but there's something disgusting going on over at the Bachelorette franchise. Yep. No shocker there. The gorgeous Jen Tran was our girl this past season, the first Asian American lead, mind you, after quite a bit of time. But it was rough. She only had one Asian option for her in the room, which is gobsmacking to me. And at the end of it, she picked a man named Devin with an I. First mistake. He broke off their engagement once the cameras dropped over the phone.
Yes.
And then proceeded to contact other contestants and women. And Jen made it clear that he barely even tried. He wasn't willing to give it a go. He just had zero interest, which really does make it sound like he did it all for the cameras.
Yes.
But here's the worst part, as if all of that isn't bad enough. It came out this week that he was previously arrested and had a restraining order placed on him by his ex-girlfriend who said he physically abused her. For the record, this information is out there, but the franchise and ABC, the television network, have said they never saw any of it, despite their allegedly thorough background checks. I call bullshit. I also feel like it's yet another sign this show just does not give a shit for its people of color. Sarah, as a Bachelor World aficionado, tell me, what do you think? What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, they've had issues for years with allowing sexual violence or not caring about sexual violence in contestants' past, right? Like, I mean, we all remember what happened on Bachelors in Paradise a few years ago, right? We also know that this isn't the first time they've had somebody who has been accused of pretty serious crimes against women as a contestant. So they are known to put their female leads in peril because they just don't seem to care. They care about good TV. And a cynical part of me wonders, and don't sue me because I don't have any evidence, but wonders if sometimes they do this intentionally because they know that if the season's really boring and people aren't watching it, they can leak this information for publicity.
Yes. I have to agree because this has been multiple times now with the previous incidents you mentioned where they always release a similar statement saying, oh, it just didn't come up in our vetting process, which is funny to me because then how can people on Reddit and Twitter so easily find it, but you couldn't? It's just bullshit. You're a multi-million-dollar television network and you couldn't find it. That's not true. But I agree with you. And here's my question, Sarah, because particularly as a reality TV addict, like I eat up any kind of shit show, and I won't lie, when drama happens, I love it. I love watching it. I eat it right up. I am giving them those ratings. This put a dirty taste in my mouth. This is not the kind of thing that I support. It's not the kind of thing that I want to watch, knowing that any of these women or men in whatever situation are being put in danger. But I wonder, are we complicit in this as the viewers, as the people who have been watching The Bachelor for however many years it's been now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that way too. Are we complicit? Maybe. I mean, the creator of the Bachelor franchise, Mike Fleiss, is a known wife beater.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is, if you take it to its origins, a little bit icky sometimes. And listen, that's true of most popular culture, especially most popular culture that's as long running as this is, reality TV in general. There are a lot of ethical issues there, but this seems to be a really systemic problem that they just don't care. And that at best and at worst, they like the drama that this provides sometimes. Like, I also remember JoJo Fletcher's season had aggressive men like Chad, and they seemed to like the drama of putting her in close proximity to a man who seemed to have anger issues and violent tendencies, right? So they have exploited this for entertainment purposes before. I don't know if this was something they were keeping in their back pocket, if ratings were bad because they wanted publicity. I don't know. But if you look at his bio on ABC, the bio they wrote for him,
pull up the facts, Sarah. Pull up the facts.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the facts. This is what it says. Devin is the full package and is so ready to meet his match. This business owner is 100% husband material.
Ugh.
And then it says a bunch more glowing stuff. So they wholeheartedly endorse him. If you're going to say someone's 100% husband material, you should probably research whether or not he is like a POS who stalks women and burglarizes their apartments. I'm sorry. And they have the person power to do this. They have the producers to do this research. I don't even want to blame the like low-ranking producers who are in charge of doing that. Probably they did find this stuff, and it was okay. I should my theory is it's possible, not probably.
Allegedly,
possible that they might even have found this stuff, but they just knew that they'd get fired if they pushed it or something like that, right? Because I do wonder, what if there was somebody that they wanted to cast because they thought he was charismatic and they thought he was funny and they thought he was handsome, and a producer found a reason why he shouldn't be cast? Would they just not include him in the season, or would they strategically have that information come out during the season, while filming, or shortly after the season? I don't know what they would do, but I'm not 100% sure that they would be ethical enough to say, okay, just don't cast this guy.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. I think there's multiple ways that it could go. I have been to some reality TV tapings here or there. Sarah, I'll tell you after. Listeners, I can't tell you a damn thing. I may or may not have signed an NDA, but here's the thing. When mess goes down, especially as a viewer, I know that the cameras are going to keep going, but when you're there in real life and it's happening and they really do bring all the cameras closer, they zoom in, they don't turn it off, they make sure they get it all. It is a really, really strange thing. It's almost like there is an element of, oh, good, something bad is happening, because there's a shift in the room, there's a shift in the atmosphere, and it's good TV. Let's not lie. And good TV doesn't mean that something good is happening all the time. It just means that something exciting is happening. And it's icky. It's so icky. And yet, when I was there, I was disgusted. But now, if I was watching at home, would it be a different thing? Maybe. I do think we're complicit. But here's my other question for you, Sarah, on this front. Do you feel like, knowing that it seems like Devin only came on the show for publicity and maybe to have his 15 minutes, whatever, I feel like this has become a little bit of a pattern in reality TV. For instance, having watched Real Housewives from the start up until now, I think one of the problems that's ailing that franchise recently is that a lot of the new cast members, they're too aware of how reality TV functions. It's almost like they have a playbook in their head.
Yeah.
This is what I can do and say and how to behave to become quote unquote dramatic and famous. It doesn't feel genuine anymore. And I feel like maybe that's how we got the Trista Wrens of the early Bachelor era, you know, when everyone was more fresh and they didn't know how this plays out and they were more genuine.
No, Trista's just a nice lady who I think thought she could meet her husband on TV. Like, they were so earnest and sweet, those original Bachelor and Bachelorette contestants. Like, I really do think they were there for the right reasons.
I do too. So what do you think? Do you feel like there's been a shift? Are we just paying more attention? I don't know.
Well, I think everything you said is correct. I think they're medium aware, right? And how could you not be, whether it's intentional or not? Like, you might even be there for the right adjacent reasons. Like, who's there for the right reasons? And statistically, the chances of actually hitting it off with the Bachelor and them liking you too and getting married are very low, even if you are there for the right reasons, right? Because there are so many women there. But let's just say you're there for the fun of it, as well as you're open to meeting someone and you kind of want free travel. Like, those are probably the best reasons
Which
to go
I don't blame you for,
Yeah, or the Bachelorette. Those are the best reasons to go on. Let's say you've seen reality TV, right? Like, no one's grown up in a bunker and hasn't seen it. So whether you are consciously doing it or not, you might be aware of the kinds of edits people get and trying to play into certain archetypes so that you're not cast as the villain, right? Like, we all know how easy it is to get a villain edit. I would totally get a villain edit. I would be so easily manipulated by the producers.
Okay, you know what? I worry sometimes that I would too. I have said this to other friends, but I think that I would end up saying too much shit.
I would too.
I love a little gossip, and what if in my confessional I say too much, and then I don't know if it would necessarily fuck up my game on the show. It would definitely fuck up my social life when I get back home. So I don't know.
You and I would be shit up. Like, a girl I went to high school with, she was the year below me. We took Canadian history together. She was on Bachelor Canada. Her name is Katie. She's a lovely girl. She's a lawyer. And they gave her the crazy edit, which I was actually writing recaps for She Does the City at the time of Bachelor Canada. And I disclosed that I knew her, so that I disclosed that it might not have been history. I never got to the bottom of whether it was Canadian history or the history of modern Western civilization. And so every week I would say, like, just reminding you, we took either Canadian history or modern Western modern Western civilization together.
I love that.
And she got a crazy edit, which is kind of the worst case scenario, especially when you're a lawyer, like a profession where people need to trust you with their legal problems. And I felt so terrible for her, and it was so misogynistic. And that's something that when they give that crazy edit, it kind of happens more often to women. Yeah. So all of these things, like, you're powerless. And what scares me is that no matter how medium aware you are, they can give you whatever edit they want with the frankenbiting and also just depriving you of food until you're kind of delirious. Yeah. Right? Like, we know the methods that they use. They ply people with alcohol. They deprive them of food. They ask them the same question again and again. If they still don't get what they want, they frankenbite you. They kind of psychologically torture you by not letting you read the news or talk to your family.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're bored. That's why they all gossip, because they won't even let them really read books, right? Like, when everyone's like, oh, these girls are so petty. Why are they talking shit about each other? I'm like, for entertainment.
You're so right.
What else are they supposed to do?
Yeah, and the more that you say, the more I realize I would definitely not fare well. You and I would not fare well. It would be
No,
disaster.
I would get so bored and I would be the first to start gossiping just to feel alive.
I would too. I would lose all my friends on that show. No one would talk to me after. There would be no me in the reunion. You and I would be out of there.
I know. I'd have to apologize to everyone at the reunion. I'd be one of those people, right? Exactly. I would get the edit, one of the more obnoxious edits, I think, where I think they would turn me into, well, now I'd just get the mom edit. But back in the day when I was a graduate student, I would get the graduate student edit where they just make you seem like the most obnoxious, pretentious person in the world and also kind of a bully. And that's definitely what I would have gotten.
Ooh, fascinating. I want them both. Now, on that note, that is this week's episode. Thank you to our talented editor, Evan Wexler. And of course, thank you to all of our wonderful listeners. Thank you to you, Sarah, for bringing your wonderful critique. You can listen to The Read for free on the Seeker app. You can also find the show on the Frequency Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to hear more from me, you can find me at _Sadaf Hassan. Sarah, where can our listeners find you?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to you, Sadaf, for your beautiful commentary. Listeners can find me on Twitter at Sarah Sahagian. And if you liked this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe so other listeners can find us too. And if you'd like us to keep growing, we'd love for you to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thereheat, where we've got some goods in store for you. Thanks for listening.